All right, we are pleased here on our VirginiaPreps.com Zoomcast to be joined by a special guest. He is the head basketball coach of the VHSL Class 5 state champion Highland Springs Springers, and what a job he and his crew did this past year. 23-4 overall. They erased an 8-point deficit in the last 3.5 minutes to beat Maury to capture the program's first state title since 2007. We're here with Coach Reginald Tennyson. Coach, congratulations. I know it's been a whirlwind couple of months for you, and have to be so excited and thrilled to have the opportunity to put up another banner there at Highland Springs High School.
Very excited, very excited. It was a great season, great ending to the season. Just so thankful and blessed that we had an opportunity to prevail in that game.
You just finished up what year for you at the helm of the Springers?
As the head coach, this was my 6th year, but
Okay.
my 5th season.
Okay. Sixth year, fifth season. Obviously, you guys didn't play because of the COVID campaign, where a lot of the schools in Richmond and beyond that did not get the opportunity to participate. But you followed up a legend, and I always hate the phrase. I'm sure you might too as well. You're replacing a legend because we don't replace legends. George Lancaster is one of the all-time greats in state history. You were his assistant for many years. Tell me what you learned from him. I know you guys are still very close, and what you soaked up as you went from the assistant chair, one of the guys, giving him some advice, tips, some help to being the guy in charge.
Well, my dad always told me when I was a kid, if you ever wanted to do something and do it with perfection, find the people that could teach you how to do it. And I was fortunate enough to play for Coach Lancaster and then coach alongside with him for 12 years and just watch how he went to work and how he prepared for every season. And never knowing that someday I would have the opportunity to actually follow in his footsteps at my alma mater, I just always prepared myself as if I would coach again at the high school level, not knowing well where I would be. And the things that I watched him do behind the scenes was a tremendous asset to me as I prepared myself for this endeavor.
So your class of what at Highland Springs? What year did you graduate?
1981.
81. Okay, so you played for him, then you work with him, coach with him, and then you become the guy after him. How did your kind of your perspective change from going from one that played for a legendary figure to then coaching with him, and then now you're the one making those decisions and so forth? How has kind of your perspective changed at all, or has it been pretty steady status quo the whole way?
Well, I have this saying that I always share with him, and we talk about it a lot. And it's something that I use in my day-to-day business practices. Never try to reinvent the wheel, just grease it a little bit, sort of roll a little smoother. And that's all that I pretty much did with this opportunity. I had seen it done to perfection. I knew pretty much how it should go. And I tried to follow the footprint that he laid before me to make sure that I did it the way I thought was appropriate.
Mhm. Obviously, the program wins a couple of state titles. You were along for the ride for those. Under Coach Land had some just magnificent teams. You think of the guys like Roselle, Brendan Roselle, and Abrams and Threaton, so many great ones. And I know you even got some from former Springers involved in the program too. But I want to get to, there's an expectation level there at Highland Springs because that basketball program has been great for many years. It's had some wonderful rivalries. You think of the rivalries with Henrico and other schools around the 804. And B, your football program is absolutely incredible right now under Lauren Johnson, if not winning a state championship every year, right there in the hunt to do so. For some, that would feel like a lot of pressure, but I'm imagining for you, you probably embrace that and enjoy the community support and all that comes with being a Springer, right?
And well, I'll say this: I've never felt pressure to win a state championship since I've been the head coach.
Mhm.
I've been so pleased with the success of our athletic programs across the board. And it goes without saying about how renowned our football program has been and how successful it has been and will continue to be. And athletics in itself at Highland Springs High School will continue to thrive. We are very fortunate as coaches to work with some very, very talented young people in that building. And they have such a resolve and a will to be successful at that level. It makes this particular opportunity for me very enjoyable. And I think I speak for a lot of coaches that we really enjoy working with these young people at Highland Springs. And we pull for each other
Mhm.
in all aspects of athletics. We want to see every program that take their sport reach the highest level, and we support every program in that building.
Before I get to some of the key figures and the journey from this state championship team of 2021, 2022, just to follow up on that point, Coach, I mean, with yourself, just a wealth of knowledge, Coach Land, who's been there. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Lauren Johnson. I also forgot about the girls basketball coach, Franklin Harris, who's done a
Yeah,
marvelous job as well. I
another
imagine
good
some of the,
friend.
yeah, just the conversations you all and you support each other so much. There's that camaraderie, and it's not in every building, unfortunately, in our state where you're pulling for each other. You hope that, you wish that, but it's not the case in every school in the state. But I imagine a lot of the conversations between each other, you're all picking each other's brains a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Franklin and I are very good friends, and we were actually planning to hopefully share state titles together this year because his girls team is so young and so talented, but they achieved so much this year, and this was going to be, we thought, a special year for us as the two programs that head up basketball there. But look out for those young ladies next year and the years to come. Hopefully, we can continue to be very productive and successful. And I'm hoping one day we get an opportunity to share titles together.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that could happen. It's happened for a few schools in our state, but it's something special and unique when you have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
I want to go to that 2020, 2021 campaign where you're among the, I want to say it was 65, 70 plus schools that did not get a chance to play. How you all handled that with the young men. Some seniors at every school didn't get that chance to kind of finish the opportunity, but I know it had to have been the fuel to drive the ones that came back to say, all right, this is so precious in this world we're living in where things can be taken from, and you wanted to seize that moment, which you guys were able to do.
Well, you're spot on with that. It was very unfortunate for our young people to miss their junior year of athletics. But it taught us some lessons about how precious opportunities are in life and how to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. And these young people that we had coming back for their senior year missed a golden opportunity in their junior year to compete. And they felt, and we felt like they would be very competitive because they had a very, very tough sophomore campaign. And pretty much the nucleus was still going to be there for the next couple of years.
Mhm.
So they did take it very seriously, and they had a goal. We had a goal, and we set out to try to achieve that goal this season. And we're very fortunate to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I don't know that I want to necessarily compare it to that group you had with Nathaniel Pollard and Marcel Crump that went from a number 8 seed in the region, won the or got to the state semifinals, fell to Verina in a year where you played them a lot. Another one of your rivals, like Henrico, there in that Capital District. But I feel like Highland Springs is always in the conversation because of the athletes you have in the schools
Mhm.
there in the building. But you weren't really on the radar as among the top talked about teams. I mean, LC Bird in your own area was talked about a little bit more, obviously. So they
Mhm.
got a great, tremendous program and team under Troy Mans, and some others across the state. Although I did have the feeling going in that Class 5 was wide open after Green Run graduated its senior laden group with Jacob Cooper, Elijah Kennedy. Stonebridge won it, but it kind of came from nowhere to do so. Did you all, as you began the season, know, or was it a little bit of some mystery because you didn't have that season last year?
Well, I won't say we knew. I don't think anybody really knows. You have expectations to get to the highest level. We had those always, every season we come in. What we did know is that we had senior leadership. We had athletes that we knew were going to compete every night, every game, every opportunity. We knew that as a staff. Um, we just put those things in the forefront of what we wanted to accomplish. And then we let the kids take us where we wanted to go. And they did that. I mean, they competed extremely hard every game. They stayed united as a team, and we were able to do that.
Mhm.
Uh, so I'm just pleased with the opportunity that I had to represent those young people. They're extremely talented.
Well, it's funny. I remember seeing you guys a couple years ago, pre-pandemic. You came down to an event at Kings Fork and you played. I think it was Norview who ended up sharing that Class 5 title that year with Green Run. And even though you lost that game, you could see some of the talent in the young men, the Dorian Davises, the Kwanye Vinny, who we'll get to. And one of the things I respect a great deal about you as well as Coach Land is at Highland Springs, you always take on all comers, not just who you have in the capital with the Henricos, the Veranas, the Armstrongs, but you'll play the best of the best, whether it's from the 804, the 757, Northern Virginia. So it hardens you guys for that run. So I say that to ask you 23-4, terrific wins, a terrific year, a lot of wins and moments that certainly will come to mind. But I know how you top tier coaches are wired. The losses stick out more sometimes than the wins. So of those defeats, which one jumps out at you the most that maybe you learned something from that helped you along your path to go into states?
I think the and speaking to what you alluded to earlier
Mm-hmm.
about Highland Springs really flying under the radar every year since I've been there, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we take that as a challenge as a staff. We do because we are following a program with the legendary coach that's been so successful for so many years.
Sure.
So, I mean, the expectations for the program will always be to win the state championship, and we understand that and embrace that. But saying all that, the game I think that really got our attention um, was when we lost to Henrico at home. Uh, we lost to Henrico at home by 8, and we had just beaten them a few weeks earlier at their place by 8, 6 or 8 punts, but it was pretty much the same
Mm-hmm.
turnaround. And I don't think we were focused, not taking nothing away from Henrico. They were a very good team, but
Sure.
I don't think we were focused. And that kind of hit the guys real hard that we lost that game because we felt like we were going to play better and just win that game. But we lost the game. So I think that got our attention. And we came back to practice that Monday because we played Norfolk Collegiate, I think, that Saturday. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
play well against them at all. And came back that next week and kind of redefined our goals and talked about, how we see ourselves going down the stretch. That's the game I think kind of pretty much put things in perspective for us. And in the other games, I mean, our rivalry games with Verona, when we actually won that game
Yeah.
at Highland Springs, it gave our guys, I think, an overwhelming sense of confidence that we are that team, that we can be that team. That's why the loss to Henrico was such a devastating loss at home. But
Mm-hmm.
then the Bird win was just another rival game. Great team, great program. Let our kids know that we were there. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the Henrico loss was the one that really got our attention because we didn't lose no more after that.
Right, and that's a fascinating pick for you. I think that matters a big deal when you have that game and you don't lose after that. My first instinct was you would pick either the Bird or the Verina games because we talked about the programs. You guys have won state championships before, but like we talked about, sometimes fun on the radar. We've seen in recent years the Richmond teams that have won it: the John Marshalls under Ty White,
Mm-hmm,
George Wythe under Willard Coker, Bird under Troy Mans, Henrico
mm-hmm,
and Vance Harmon was there. Some of those programs that won a state title, and we're kind of waiting. Highland Springs is so close to doing it; they're going to do it. And those two games that you lost to Bird and Verona as an outsider, not there every day around the program like you guys are as coaches and players and so forth, and the diehard fans, the thing that's triggered me when you beat Verona into the year, I'm like, this is a team that can make states now, even if they, I mean, they could have before. And then when you beat Bird in the regionals, who you lost to earlier, and you did it pretty decisively. Dorian Davis had a
mm-hmm.
tremendous game, which we'll get to. My then instinct in my brain, I remember when that score came in, I was like, they now not only can make the states, they can win this thing in Class 5. Did you sense something around your guys as you got a couple of those signature wins that confidence not only grew, but then they kind of had a little bit of a swagger about them to where, oh, now this is a team when they walk in the gym, they're a different animal.
Yeah, well, we knew we had to get some respect after
Mm-hmm.
those wins. We knew that they were emotional games, they were rival games. We were up for those games. We wanted to revenge some losses that we'd had earlier. So you look for your kids to get emotional about games like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when we won so decisively against Bird, uh, it told me a lot and our staff a lot about the character and the makeup of these young men. And they just saw themselves continue to finish things off.
Mm-hmm. Let's chat about these young men a little bit, Coach, because I want to take nothing away from all the fabulous players in Class 5. The guy that got the VHSL State Player of the Year, and Brian Alexander, who you saw up close and personal for Maury. Yuri Mans in your region, who's just an outstanding young man and basketball player from LC Bird. But I felt, from me, I thought Dorian Davis was the Class 5 state player. I'll go on record saying that because he all-state, 20.4 points, 5.6 rebounds a game, almost 2 steals and 2 assists per game. He's going to Mary Washington, which is an absolute gem and steal for them. I felt like, and I had a little bit of a gripe with this also involving the young man getting snubbed, in my opinion, from Kickitan for first team All-State and DJ Campbell, that had we had everybody do their voting for the regions at the same time, you do your voting at the tournament. Dorian Davis is the player of the year in the region, again, taking nothing away from other great players. And he probably could have gotten state player of the year because the rule now is you can't be state unless you're region. I'm feeling I'm getting some head nod, and you probably agree with me, right?
Well, yeah, I do. I agree with you in a certain respect, but taking nothing away from those other players, your Nans and the kid from Maury. I mean, it is the system. It's what we have to work within. But I agree, Dorian could have. His numbers really signify that he could definitely have been considered for that player of the year. But those other guys had great numbers and had great seasons, and we're just thankful that Dorian did make first team, all region, all state, and he's going to get an opportunity to play at the next level. He's a smart kid, and that he get an opportunity to fulfill his dream, academics and athletics.
Well, one of the things that I think also signals not only a good team but a great team that's a championship level team is when you can overcome your star player not having his best shooting night. Because he didn't shoot it great in the state championship. He still did some other things. He rebounded, he defended, he contributed for you guys. Got a quiet 16 points, if you will. But you had a young man, a sophomore, who I know you said in the post-game press conference afterwards, and Denzel Coles. He's a sophomore by grade, but he plays like a senior. And ordinary sophomores don't drop 30 in the state finals, so he's pretty special. I take it.
He really is. He's a gym rat. He's probably trying to break in the gym as we speak, and out of school today. But he is special. He plays with a confidence that I really haven't seen too many young men in all my years of coaching have at such an early age. From the day I met him this August, he walked in the gym, wanted to know who the best player was in the gym. And I told him who that was. And from that point on, he only wanted to guard him. So, and that was Dorian. So
they go at each other in practice, I take it.
well, they play together so much now as the season started, but in camp, they went at it a lot. I mean, they had to earn each other's respect. And the only way you earn each other's respect is through competition.
Right.
So they both had to earn each other's respect. Dorian is the senior, the top dog, and he trying to make Coles understand he's the man. Coles trying to let him know that, hey, I'm the up and coming. I can play. It's great competition. I loved it. So, but they earned each other respect, develop a bond for each other that, as you saw, helped us and carried us, both of them. We had nights where one of them was just clicking and the other one might have been mediocre. And we had nights where both of them was clicking and it was just fun to watch.
Well, and then you throw in the competition level when you bring in those football guys, Kwanye Vini and Latrell Sutton and Christian Martin, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple of those, but certainly Vini and Sutton senior guys.
CJ Mosley.
CJ Mosley.
Yeah, we have to have that at Highland Springs. It's a gift and a curse because I have to share them, and rightfully so. So much of the year with football because they're in season, and I only get those guys like a week or so or two, mostly recently a week before the season, before our first game. Sometimes we played our first game this year without them.
Yeah.
So, but the element of toughness and preparation and competition, it's just another element and facet that we're fortunate to have as a basketball program to incorporate those guys into what we do.
Well, it's funny because Vini didn't make a single shot in the state final, but boy, was he impactful in that game with his
I think
assists.
he made one layup. I think
Oh,
he
he did have
got
one?
one.
Okay. He might have got
Yeah,
one.
he
Okay.
didn't have one layup.
Okay.
But let me tell you something. We don't win without his effort. I mean, this young man is, and I tell him this all the time, to be 5'10", 5'11", he one of the most fearless competitors that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he just refused to lose. And he hates to lose. I mean, he's a tough young man.
Yeah. Well, and as you go on this journey in the playoffs, Coach, where you certainly have some challenges along the way, you open up in the postseason. You beat Prince George, who was no slouch, by 9. You take down Bird by 12. You win the region final over a hot upstart Glen Allen team by 7, and then you get to states. And that march begins with Albemarle, who's so well coached under Greg Maynard. Riverside was almost like a mirror image from Northern Virginia. You guys are able to distance yourself in those games, and you play Maury. And it felt like there's been a collision course. Highland Springs and Maury have hooked up on the gridiron before, and you're down with under 4 minutes to play. There wasn't a sense of panic about your guys or, oh no, the season's coming to an end. And I think being at home in Richmond, VC, when you guys haven't gone through what you've gone through, it kind of like it was just, this is another game where we just got to finish the job against a team that's, in a lot of ways similar to us, but we know how to do this, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even think we realized that how much time was still on the clock. We just knew we had to play and we need to be on top.
Is that
And
something you coach, or it comes natural to those guys to just keep going with the clock?
we talk about it, but a lot of it is instinctive with the guys that we have on the floor. These guys will not quit. They're gonna play hard, win, lose, or draw. But from a program, at every time out and every opportunity, we had an opportunity to talk to the guys. We just made sure that they understood where we were in the game, what we needed to do, and when we had to change things up.
Mm-hmm.
We never ever felt like it was over until it was over.
You're in the game, so you're coaching it. You're thinking all the different strategies and situations. When you go back and you watch the game, which I'm sure you've done and looked at, what kind of jumps out at you about it from your guys' perspective and how that game went, the ebbs and flows of it?
Well, I tell you, the only thing that I wish that I could have done or would have done a little differently, and you guys alluded to it a little bit, was actually give my guys a little bit of rest early.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the state championship game. It's not a regular season game. These guys are young men. I can remember Coach Lamb when we won it. We play 6 guys, 7 guys tops. But your key people have to be able to finish games. They have to be able to play 32 minutes of basketball. They have to be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was going to ever be a game where nobody got any rest, that was the game. And where they're a little winded, a little tired, I really don't think so. I don't think they realized how exhausted they were until maybe after the game.
Yeah.
Because when your drilling is flowing, and I'm guilty of it as well, only thing you're thinking about is finishing the task.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I saw an opportunity where I probably could have. Maybe, I always save my timeouts. I never call timeouts early in a ball game because I'm a firm believer that you don't win or lose ball games in the first 2 quarters of a game. You just don't. And the way I coach and the minutes that my guys log, I have to save my timeouts for the end of the game. That's when I rest them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my mentality. We didn't have a whole lot of experience, but we will next year. So I mean, that's probably the only adjustment that I probably would have made. Other than that, the game unfolded, I think, the way that we hoped that it would have, and it was, Dorian didn't shoot the ball as well as he normally does, but he hit the biggest shot in the game.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, this is to no knock of Maury. I think Brendan Plummer's just done a marvelous job. He had to follow a legend, by the way, too, and Jack Baker, kind of like you did with
I know it.
George
I know it.
Lancaster, and he's won a state title. He's been right
I
there, and
know.
he's certainly kept
Yeah.
that program going.
Yeah.
But I felt when the tournament started, I think my initial pick on the website was Maury, but before your game, I changed it. I just said I thought y'all were for some, and maybe I think maybe the competition level was a little more fierce for y'all than maybe say Maury, which is to no fault of theirs. I felt like you guys were. They had kind of stayed steady. I thought y'all were getting better those last couple of games to where you may have jumped them a bit, and that kind of how the game went. They were better than you until like the very end of the game. And you talked about it with the timeouts and the substitution. I mean, you have four guys play 32 minutes. You're probably glad it didn't go to overtime to have to go even more minutes with those guys. But I see it with NBA and college coaches all the time. You're wondering if a guy gets a fifth foul or a fourth foul in the case of high school and college. Do you take the guy? Do you keep him in? It's something when you're watching college and pros. How much are you always thinking about those things when you're watching a game too? Like, all right, what's this guy doing in this situation, or he should be doing this as opposed to this? Are you constantly thinking that way when you watch a game on the pros or college level too? Or
Absolutely not. I'm gonna
oh,
tell you
really?
why. I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you why. You can't be a high school basketball coach and try to coach like a pro coach. And I've coached the ABA
Mm-hmm.
league here in Richmond, where I had pro guys on the team, guys that played overseas and guys that played at the highest level in Division One basketball, and college coaches. The reason you can't, as a high school coach, in my opinion, coach that way is because of two reasons. You are not as deep as those teams are. A pro team, you're coaching pros. So
Mm-hmm.
from 1 to 12, you got guys that can come in the game and contribute probably just as well as the starters can.
Good
They're
point.
pros.
Yeah.
At Division One college basketball level, you have blue chips from 1 to 10 on your team. You got
Mm-hmm.
first and second team players. Your second team is probably better than a lot of first team. So you have to think about your personnel at the high school level and what you're working with. Our personnels are not always as deep. Now, I could have subbed some guys in the game. They could have possibly came in the game, made a difference, or they could have come in the game and caused us to get down even more.
Right.
And that's putting them in a situation where it's a defeated situation as opposed to being productive. I know you have to know your own personnel.
Right.
Not that I don't trust my guys, but I know what we need, or I have a good feel for what we need at certain games. There have been games this year where guys have come off the bench and played major minutes. But here again, we were competing for the state championship. This
Mm-hmm.
was the coup d'etat of high school basketball season.
Yeah.
So I just don't think you can coach high school basketball the way you see it done on college, because you got Division One players coming in. They're Division One players for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you got 6'5" guys that can play multiple positions. You're not always that deep at the high school level unless you coach a prep school where you got the best players in the state and the city in your program, or that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
we do what we have to do. Our guys contributed. And we played, I think, 7 or 8 guys in that game. I know I played CJ.
Mm-hmm.
No, we did play it. We played CJ Mosley off the bench, and we played James Langley off the bench, and we played Jaquan Witcher off the bench
Yep.
in the game. So they contributed when they needed to, and when we thought we had to put them in the game.
Absolutely. And you guys always ready when you call for them. I want to finish up with what
Absolutely.
what this team was about for you, and then what's ahead for next year. But before that, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one of those young men off the bench that was so promising that you guys lost recently, and he was so beloved by his teammates, coaches, family, everyone at Highland Springs. Was none other than Jaheem Dickerson. Just tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about him and what the last few weeks have been like for you all. I know it's been very, very difficult.
Um, this is really a tragic situation for his family, for the schools, his high school family. We're gonna miss this young man dearly. He is a young guy. You talk about him. He's a lot like Kwanye, a fierce competitor. He was next up. He probably was going to be the point guard next year for the team. He's very tough defensively. He handles the ball pretty well. He's got he has a strong will. He was definitely gonna make us better. He played major minutes against Verona the first time we played them at their place. Did a pretty good job in that game. Just so sad to see a young person's life taken from him at such an early age for some nonsense. And yeah, it has been tough. His teammates, they were so emotional to see these young people, uh, just emotional about this. But I'll share this. At his funeral, at his funeral, the pastor had an altar call for people to come to the Lord and join the church. And I believe we had about maybe 100 or 200 young people come to that altar to give their lives to the Lord. in that young man's name.
Oh, that's awesome. That is,
Yeah,
praise God. That's awesome stuff.
absolutely.
That's just, and we'll continue to keep our thoughts and prayers with you all for this
Please
and
do.
Ja's family. Coach, what was, as we kind of finish up here, what was different? You've had some good teams before at Highland Springs, quality players and young men. What was different, most different, noticeably about this team than other teams that allowed them to make this history? And we'll give you a chance, the ones returning, to maybe make some more history.
Um, this team was so much fun for us this year. Um, they were close. They were unique. They were funny. Uh, they just was a special group. Um, they had their own identity. They embraced having their own identity. I kept trying to compare them to the '07 state team as we started our run, and they were okay, but they didn't like being compared to that team. They were their own. They were the 2022 team.
Yeah.
So it just was just a joy to coach. I'm gonna really miss that collection of young people on the basketball team because the personalities, Trail Sutton. I mean, just a comedian. Could be the next Jay Leno. Um, Kwanye Vini. I mean, they just enduring his dry humor. Uh, we just had a ball with these people, and we still get together. And as much as we can, now we've had some functions. CJ's mother has a transportation company, and she sponsored a trip for us to go to DC to see the Wizards and Luka and Mavericks play.
Saw that, yeah.
Another friend of mine, Tony Liggins, has a yacht down in the river. He's gonna have a cookout for this team. People love this team. I mean, they are loved by their peers and the administration there. It's not just our staff. They just a collection of lovable young men.
Hmm. And a lot of winners there in Richmond with John Marshall and you guys right there in your own backyards, the Highland Springs of Orion. I know you guys got together to commemorate this, which was so cool to see. And Coach, I think
Yeah.
you say goodbye to, I want to say it's five seniors, plus you don't have Ja anymore. So give me a quick thought on. They're all saying, "Well, Coach, can you go back to back next season? You do have a pretty darn good young guy leading the way, and Mr. Denzel Coles, and some other key parts. I'm sure we'll be learning more about and watching as they grow."
Well, I'm really excited about what's to come. After you win a state championship, not that I've won it before, but I've been a part of
Hmm.
of a state team that won a team, and then what folks look for coming back. And all I'll say is I say this every year before this season when people always ask, Coach, how you look this year? And I'll tell you the same thing I tell them. We have a chance.
Hmm.
We got a chance because one thing for sure I know, we're gonna put a product on the floor that's gonna compete. And the thing that I love about the young people that's coming back, they've had a chance to really smell and taste what it is to be a champion, what it takes to get there, the work ethic. You know, um, they are buying a little bit more to what the staff and our coaches are trying to teach them and work with them about because they want to get there. They want their own identity. They want their own journey. They want their own story. Um, we had an opportunity to put our state picture up on the wall today. It's supposed to go up in the gym today,
Oh,
and we're
nice.
all excited about that. And you know, these kids at Highland Springs High School. I mean, not that we're better than anybody else at any other high school, but we're different only in the aspect that we have high expectations for our programs. I mean, the kids do. I mean, they compete. Our track team, the wrestlers. I mean, it's just unbelievable the sense of urgency that these young people have to be successful and thrive on that, work hard, and not better than people, just an overall desire to be great. And I love that. It makes my job a whole lot easier, to work with people that's got that kind of mindset.
Hmm. Well, a job well done. Congratulations again to you. I
Thank
know
you.
on a personal level, so many people were pleased to see it for you, as was I, because you've worked so hard for it and you deserve it. And chance to maybe go get another one this coming season. So continue to enjoy these moments, and should be another fun group for you as you get ready for 2022, 2023. This is a real pleasure to do this with you, Coach. And we have a lot of loyal readers and message board posters on Virginia Preps for the Springers. So enjoy your spring here in the summertime, and I'm sure we'll catch up as we get closer to the hardwood time in the winter, if not sooner.
All right, all right. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for all that you do in covering young people's sports, and continue to do what you do, bring the message to the people.
You got it. That is the Highland Springs head basketball coach of the Class 5 state champion Springers, Reginald Tennyson, and we'll have more on Highland Springs as we get moving and grooving towards December and the 2022-2023 campaign. Thank you for watching this VirginiaPreps.com Zoomcast. Take care, everyone.